Hello, this is Maher Ali Rusho from Bangladesh. My title of the STEM project is Introduction to Rusho's Transform, Lakshmann and Smith Model, a machine learning approach to earthquake detection. So what I did is I used some sort of blue brain project to predict and decode the natural clues through the study of rat's brain. So my specialty of the model is it was a unique model where I used the thunderstorm and weather detection algorithm. From the name, you can see that I have used Rusho's transform, Lakshmann, and Smith model. The Lakshmann and Smith model was a weather prediction algorithm to predict and forecast the weathers. I have transformed it and make it an earthquake detection algorithm. And it was an unique model also to use Blueprint project in earthquake detections. And it is also the first model where we reduce the overfitting of model above to zero through the Kaiser normalization and use of PCA, principal component analysis. So my mantra of the project was unlocking the power of machine learning and to shape a better future for all. My motivation was it was a it was 6th February in this year when Syria and Turkey were struck by a devastating earthquake. I felt compelled that from my hometown, Bangladesh, that how to minimize the loss and tragedies. Like annually, around 20,000 people are killed every year. Not only that, there are over 500 active faults in California, and many residents live within the 30 miles of an active fault. So predicting earthquake before they happen, it can save millions of lives. And I think by searching some insightful blogs and websites and also some research papers, I found that the existing models sometimes lack the over-prediction or under-prediction of the earthquakes. Like it is something, it is hypothetical or cannot be implemented. I found from nature that some creatures like rats, owls, or dogs, they can predict earthquake many days before. Like rats can predict earthquake 7 to 10 days before. So will not be good that if we capture the rat's brain and computerize it to see what physical or psychological change they happen for pre-earthquake behaviors. And I did the same thing you are thinking. My mentor was Stephen Brewster from New Zealand, who generated a detailed laboratory report on psychological and physiological behavior of pre-earthquake rats. And he found that the rats increase in energy take, there is an insulin resistance, stress in rats were before the Chuan earthquake far from the epicenters. And we generate some kind of statistical consideration here, like p-value alpha. We found that the fasting blood glucose of rats increased significantly than in pre-earthquakes, than non-control earthquakes. Also, the glucose infusion rates significantly decrease in pre-earthquakes behavior of rats than non-earthquakes, and many more things happen, like skeletal mass contraction started happening significantly, and adipose tissue started his activities. And not only that, some kind of hormonal stress hormone secret in the meantime of pre-earthquake, like plasma corticosteroid hormone increase significantly before the time of earthquake happening. So what we did, we collect all kind of data and make a project pipeline to implement my algorithm. I first assume two null hypotheses. It is that we are successful to make a complete neural mapping of rats and its brains and sensing factors all are digitally stored in computer. And second hypothesis is to get 100% output, computer must be able to store data for an infinite period of time. And none of them is too difficult to fulfill my algorithm because the scientists already captured 1/4 of rat brains by Blueprint project. And quantum, and in this decade, we are already listening about quantum computers, supercomputers, many things. Mainly to fulfill my algorithm and be practically implemented, there will be a huge amount of microbiologists, computer scientists, mathematicians from all of the department exist in science. And it is the specialty of my project. So after assuming two null hypotheses, what we will do, we will find the pattern of earthquakes and the places where it occurs more frequently. Like you can see that I have generated a unique map of earthquake patterns I have generated from SSN algorithm, spatiotemporal data analysis. You will see that there's some red blobs where this is indicating the high earthquake areas like Nepal, and my also home country includes here Bangladesh. And after generating these kinds of data, we will use some types of data center collecting processing. Like if our like we have a human genome project in National Library of Medicine where all the humans and genomes stored there. We will do some kind of web development where we will store all the pre-earthquake behaviors and or abnormal behavior of nature that is happening before. From I have seen some kind of news channel also that the 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 hens are giving egg lays before the earthquake happen, or the dogs are started barking quite frequently before the earthquake happening. So we will use all kind of data here in the center, and we will completely use some dimension reduction also to make the algorithm in proper way be implemented. After doing this, we will use my algorithm, Introduction to Rusho's Transform Lakshmann and Smith model, a machine learning approach to the hidden layer of the earthquake artificial neural network algorithm. So now one can think, so why it is needed to use my algorithm? We have already seen some pre-earthquake nature of the algorithm, but it is needed because one question you can ask, how human can understand earthquake is happening? They can see by the shaking of buildings or like many ways, like you will feel the seismic waves and all kinds of sensing factors are stored in nature by born to us. So how one computer can understand the earthquake is happening? And that's the main question. Yes, they will consider all the changes and issues in pre-earthquake behaviors. Like this includes the cyclic occurrence of earthquakes, the strike of earthquakes during full or new moon period, the movement of liquids and gases within the earthquake behavior, the arrival of an earthquake, and not limited to the using radioactivity to predict earthquakes. But what will happen if they don't be acting on time? Like a algorithm has no value if it is being implemented. It can't be implemented on time. Like after beginning the earthquake, 30 minutes gone, then the computer act and they generates, oh, earthquake is happening. Then there will be no benefit to us because we need to consider all the pre-earthquake changes before the earthquake came to the epicenter or the targeted point. So for this, to understand and recover the issue, I need to implement my algorithm. And as before I say, it was motivated by Lakshmann and Smith model for earthquake detection from the book of A Machine Learning Approach to Data Mining and Climatophysics. I have found the algorithm and retransform it to in my own way. So now let's introduce my algorithm. Before introducing the main part, we know from seismometry data that the earthquake generally radiates seismic waves from 0.01 hertz to 10 hertz. So what we will do, we will use some kind of AI reinforcement learning where they will consider all the patterns and dynamic program that the program will be recurrent or it will be iterated day by day to give the output more strongly and be accurate. So we will consider here the three statistical criteria, like the duration of the track, the standard deviation of the vertically integration is liquid of the cell in time, Then we are ready to prepare my algorithm to forecast the earthquake. So let's define the time Tn that the earthquake is happening now. So we need to know the previous time or the Tn minus 1 time. Like it is like one of the Markov chain process. Have you heard about Markov chain? Markov chain is a probabilistic method that depends on past to predict the future. Like suppose in 6th February that Turkey and Syria faces an earthquake. We need to know the previous earthquake history of the model to predict and forecast the earthquake more accurately. Then what we will do, you will send for each associated project a centroid that is allowed in our threshold limit. Like suppose there are two states, A and B, and the difference between the A and B has an accurate amount. But what computer will do? They will contract the size, and they will contract the size in some kind of limit. Like they will use some contraction method that exists in algorithm. Like I have used their quantum verification, quantum variance with Dyson normalization. Like dn minus one, the contraction will be is a upon pi to the power of half. Like a is the cell constant or the accurate distance between the two states, and pi is pi to the power of half. After doing that, we will make the difference between two earthquake states. And if it is in between the threshold distance or 3 to 5 kilometers, then we will see we will have some significant amount of probability that the earthquake will happen at time Tn at this probability, or the p-value of the model will be less than 0.005. I mean, the model can be denied easily also. So what we have defined the state, we have defined the time. Now, what we will do, computer need to do, they need to define some kind of cost function. So why cost function is needed? So if there is no cost function, we can predict earthquake. Like how will computer be awakened to generate a simulation of earthquakes in pre-earthquakes behaviors? So our cost function is Cij is equal to the difference between x-axis whole square plus difference between y-axis whole square plus aj upon pi. Here aj is the projected forecast state that we will going to predict, and into ai minus aj, the difference between two cell constant divided by ai power symbol aj. From this symbol, you may think that it is power symbol, but it is not. If you see any kind of symbol in my model, you will do you will see the maximum value of two cell constant. Like if AI cell constant maximum value is 5 and AJ has the value of 7, you will use this symbol and make a prediction of 7. Like you will use the value of 7 plus the difference between the two distance, actual distance divided by di, this symbol dj. Okay. So after doing this, what we will do, we will make the algorithm globalize. Like there will be a whole sheet of blocks I have generated before the earthquake model, that they use some kind of probability that the whole state that this the time of the earthquake is happening Tn at the probability of 60% or 20% at time Tn. We'll make a complete earthquake generated map like the human genome mapping we are doing. We will do each unassociated centroid at Tn with an unassociated projected centroid, where the cost function is minimum. Here we need the cost function fast, early possible, because if we have no cost function, we can predict the earthquake as well. In the previous method, you are seeing that we have used cost function later, but by implementing the cost function early here, we will forecast the data more accurately. After making the cost function sweet for us, we will project it to the second centroid, i.e. the centroid AJ, and make the same iterative process. And it will occur day by day. Now, if we substitute this in the hidden layer, the overfitting will be reduced to approximately be 0. Like from previous method, you can see that I have used some data analysis tools in R. The test data we have used latitude, longitude, radon radon radioactivity, depth of earthquake, pressure, temperature of the soil at 5 centimeter, 50 centimeter, 100 centimeter, and use these to make collection of the data and prepare for the test data. After doing test data analysis for artificial neural network, we can see that sometimes the earthquake over predict or under predict. I've used a varimax with Kaizen normalization, the rotation method to predict earthquake, and the extraction method was principal component analysis to reduce the dimension reduction. And now if I substitute my algorithm, in hidden layer, the overfitting will be reduced approximately to 0. And that's the success of my model. After doing this, what we will do, I replace my algorithm into the hidden layer of the artificial neural network of my prediction of earthquakes. You can see that I have used all the parameters, and in hidden layers, my Rusho transform, Lakshmann and Smith model is replaced. And you can see it's the adjusting bias method where it will give the theoretical result first and then will be adjusted by bias. And after doing this, the model can predict earthquakes 7 to 10 days before in Richter scale. So that's the first model I implemented. Now it has some issues, like it will take a very long time to give and predict the earthquake. I mean, probably we if we do work and use some and have some proper fundings, it will take some time. But now I have another algorithm. I have what I have called the living legend. Like we can use it currently to predict earthquake 12 or 24 hours before it came to the epicenter. So it is SNN, Spatio Neural Network Algorithm. So you can see from the title I have made, the rise of a living legend. Unveiling the SNN model, it will not be SSN, it will be SNN, Spatio Neural Network, an algorithmic marvel for earthquake detection. So what spiking neural network do? They forecast some unnatural behavior of the nature, like you can see from financial crisis or economic data or predicting events like earthquake, strokes, etc. So it is nothing but a model to find and unveil the hidden pattern of earthquakes. The research holds great potential for several understanding complex phenomena and saving lives. So when we generate this into the online simulation of Newcomb generator, I found some interesting patterns. You can see that it is making some horse shapes. It is interesting to say that when the earthquake came to the epicenter, and as time goes on, these make the shape totally in some kind of horse or seesaw. Like at first we have less samples, 12 samples, or it may be less than that. You can see that this is making the horse shape more significantly. And it is a NZ seismograph network of seismic sites. The model we have trying to predict needs a huge amount of data. Like it will occur more frequently and accurately in Asian countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, Malaysia. And now you can see the code implementation also. I have made a general code implementation like all data scientists do, and also advanced it in reinforcement learning. You can see the slides by visiting my website, rusho.org. And I have implemented in Python also in reinforcement learning. So in bird view, you can see the whole presentation, what we have done. So let me conclude the presentation. In summary, I've learned in this age of experience that every model is idealistic and requires a vast amount of data or parameters to accurate predictions. Like predicting earthquake seems like a daunting task, but it is not, because science is progressing And by this paper, I am proud that I have made some contribution in seismology. My aim is to work with earthquakes as future also. And I'm excited to be part of this endeavor. Thank you.